Hope everyone's had a good start to their week. We like to start these events at 10 a.m. so you can get up, get your exercise done, maybe have some breakfast meetings, catch up on emails, and be a bit more focused by the time the event starts. We try to pride ourselves on having the fastest moving, most effective at making connections investor events, and we do that in several ways, which I'm going to cover here. We've also hosted almost 300 live events now the last 17 years, so we've learned a few things about what works, what doesn't work, what gets you the most value from being here. So my first talk of the day is going to be on how to maximize your ROI from the time you're invested in being here. And then my talk to close out the day today is going to be on the number one investment I think all of you should be making that will seem very obvious once we talk about it and show what that is and some updates on that. So welcome to the event. During the whole event, if you need anything, you can go to our membership director, Jennifer, or anybody sitting at the front check-in desks to make sure you're taken care of, especially if you're a new member or it's a first-time event for you. A little disclaimer is that it's a conference and it's not a four-person meeting, so there's no way for us to do in-depth character interviews, full due diligence profiles on everybody sitting next to you at the event, right? So like any other conference you go to for the rest of your life, if you meet someone, no matter how good their story is and how polished and professional and trusted they seem, do your full due diligence on everybody for the rest of your life, because you can do the best due diligence in the world and things could still go wrong and they could just be very good at tricking you. I hope that doesn't happen to anybody, but everyone should always do their full due diligence and not just invest with someone because they say they've been a member a long time or they're our friend or something like that. And so just always do your own full due diligence. A little bit on myself. I love doing adventure travel, doing things outside of family, kids, friends. And recently I relocated from Scottsdale out to Hawaii. I live on the island of Oahu. And we're going to start doing some mastermind events there in Q1 or Q2 here pretty soon. So when people ask, why did I move to Hawaii? This is why. I've got 3 girls. This is the hike near my house I do all the time in Kailua. This is the top of the hike view up there. And I realized after becoming more successful over time in the business that you can do several things with money. You could buy experiences. You could reinvest in health. You can invest in Lamborghinis, if you want to call that investing, if that's your passion. So be it. But in Fight Club, they say the things you own, end up owning you, basically. Like sometimes gathering more and more material things is not like my favorite goal. And so it's more about experiences, health, fun, family, friends, trying to enjoy life and enjoy the work you do with other people. And that's why we own and run an investor club, not a conference business. So you'll see familiar faces here. If you come again and again, you're going to recognize 10 or 20% of the speakers on stage. They'll be familiar over time. At each event you come to, 80% of the investors in the room are going to be unique from the other event we held in Beverly Hills or New York City. So it'll stay fresh, but also you'll see familiar faces and friends in the industry. And we do that on purpose. This is a trip we took with some clients and friends to the Grand Canyon. And then earlier this year, we went to Machu Picchu and went to Everest Base Camp recently. So a little bit on us. As Charlie, my brother, said, my name is Richard Wilson. I started this in 2007. And we've got about just under 17 million followers on LinkedIn and members of our LinkedIn social media groups and YouTube. We have the number one podcast on family offices, number one most visited website, the number one most visited YouTube channel in the family office space. It's a pretty small niche, so that only means so much, but we've been doing it for quite a while. But hopefully we're just getting started. The breakdown of people in the room is kind of a full spectrum of types of investors. I think we have right about 40% investors in the room, 70% of the stage are investors, and really importantly, every discussion panel up here, we ask the investors, what are you investing in right now? How do you like to invest? What are your preferred structures? What are your preferred strategies? The people who are first or second timers sometimes spend all their time networking outside, and they don't make nearly the progress as the people that sit in the room, because then they hear exactly what these people are looking for. And then you can follow up with really pinpoint, oh, I could offer you, or we could work together in this way, or let me help you in this way, or add value to you in that way. And you miss all that if you're working too hard to network outside the doors. So especially if you have 2 people from your team here, make sure one's always in the room. And I would encourage you to listen to 80% of the content. We have networking at breakfast, at lunchtime, during cocktails. You can form your own private dinners and organize dinner arrangements for after the event. So There's over 10 networking session times during the event, plenty of time to network without missing great investor connections on stage. We really see family offices as kind of super founders who have not just won the game, but are winning the game typically. They either are cash flowing 7 or 8 figures, or they had a 7 or 8 or 9 figure exit. And so most people in this room are some type of founder. They're a founder who's growing a platform still. They don't have enough free cash flow maybe to allocate all the time or above a small amount. Or you're a founder who's gotten to the level where you're also allocated in other people's businesses. But the thing to remember, like with Kevin Harrington, who created the As Seen on TV brand and was on Shark Tank for the first 2 years, he's spoken at our events 3 or 4 times now. We did a fireside chat with him in Beverly Hills recently. He's closed over 1,000 transactions. Somebody like that doesn't stop doing things as an entrepreneur. They would get bored sitting out here on the beach at the Ritz all day doing absolutely nothing like most of you would. And so many times the people in the room that are the most valuable ones you'll meet are relatively humble, relatively low key. They don't have a name badge that says I'm CIO of my own family office. They don't go around with a 6-inch Rolex watch on their wrist. And it's not obvious that they're one of the wealthiest people in the room. They might just say, oh, we're in the car wash space. Oh, I run a plumbing business. Oh, I'm in this niche. But they might have just sold their 50 car washes or their 100 dry cleaners, or they might own 14 of whatever it is. So you have to be careful not judging somebody too quickly and adding value first to other people and just being helpful and friendly. That type of mindset, I think, is the best way to make progress here in the room. So the advantage of being here is that you can collect mental models from all the 120 speakers on stage over 3 days. Most other events that brag about having even 50 or 75 people speaking, you're going to miss 80% of it because they're all in 4 different streams and little side rooms with 50 people each. And you're not going to go back and watch all those recordings. Nobody has time for that. So you pick one stream, even though 2 or 3 may be interesting, and you only hear from 30 people over the whole event because people are allowed to speak on stage for 45 minutes about the economy because they're a professor from Oxford, whatever it is. We have no professors up here. We have no army generals. We have not a single speaker that we paid a speaker fee to because they're famous to try to get you to come into the room. It's a community, and the people speaking want to get deals done. They want to meet with you. They want to learn. They want to connect with peers. And that's part of us being a real community, different than a conference business. So that's really critical for everyone to understand in the room. And it may be the first event you come to, or the 4th, or the 6th, but the potential of the family office space is to meet one person that changes everything in your business, to learn one strategy that lets you grow exponentially, to adjust your mindset to allow you to be more successful while enjoying business more at the same time. And that's the family office space. One $40 million check equals 400 $100,000 investors. So, even if that took years to get, that can't happen in most rooms. A couple other things is the more that you act like a class act human being, typically the better you do in the family office space. Unless you're doing a crowdfunding transaction where you're trying to raise $10,000 checks from people, most people aren't going to meet you, have a great cup of coffee with you and be like, yes, I'm going to invest today. Tell me where to wire the money, right? It takes follow-up, getting to know them, building trust, conviction, some due diligence, some follow-up questions. And so it's not about the hard close. And the people that do the worst here are the ones that run around relatively high stress saying, do you have money? Are you an investor? And they might even interrupt a conversation of 4 people nicely, casually talking and saying, are you an investor? Are you a family office? And they're all going to say no if you do that. They're like, oh, I think they're over there in that corner, right? Because it just feels kind of off-putting, right? So it's just something to keep in mind. Bruce Lee said that calm is a superpower. And I think that everyone wants to work with someone who treats them well and is respectful or has a personality. In finance, there's a lot of rigid robot people that don't have tons of personality or hide that. And they're being very stiff and maybe nervous about a transaction they're trying to get done or under a great deal of pressure in a market like this where it's harder to get deals done than 2 years ago. And we understand that, but you make the most progress by adding value first and being just a class act person, and it just makes the community a better place. So I put out something on our LinkedIn newsletter called Investor Club Insights I think is really important, and that's deciding what values are important to you and what values are important to a community. Because if you don't decide on that, you don't know who to let in to your circle of trust. So we try to focus on that in our community and encourage you to do that as well. And some of you might enjoy watching golf, but in general, watching like an F1 race is a little bit more high action, fast paced. And we try to have that be the sense here. Maybe one of our fireside chats might go to 20 minutes. Otherwise, nobody's speaking more than 15 minutes throughout the whole conference. It's very fast moving. We have a lot of people on each discussion panel. The point is to know who they are, generally what they do, learn about their investor mandate or a strategy or some insights, and then we go on to the next person throughout the panels so we can maximize connections. Because not every person's going to be relevant to every other person here in the room, but it maximizes the number of people you hear from. And then you can follow up if you want to go deeper with them. Most of our speakers could do half-day or full-day workshops on the topic they're speaking on. And they're just speaking for a few minutes. And that's the downside of our model. But the upside is there's going to be some people that are probably very relevant to what you're looking to do. We do not have planned breaks. That would make our life easier. We'd need to book less speakers, would need to have less things on the agenda. But there is, starting at 10 a.m., there is lunch, there is cocktails later. We don't have you sitting here until 7 p.m. at night, et cetera. And so maybe there is a panel on healthcare or tech and it's really not your thing. And then that basically is your built-in break, right? So that's why we don't do that. We try not to waste your time and keep things interesting. I think founders, there's a good percentage of us that are ADHD and lose attention quickly and need to do multiple things at a time. And so we try to have a rule like if I'm getting bored at my own conference, then we need to change things and not do that thing again, right? We're honored to have some great fireside chats today. During the event, we have 4 billionaire fireside chats going on, 120 speakers on stage. We also have Dan Pinkerton, who is a Stanford grad from Pinkerton Wealth Management. Has been in business for 37 years, was ranked as one of the top 0.5% of wealth advisors, and many other accolades related to his protect and growth strategies. So he'll be up here soon in a few minutes. Also, Thursday is our investor day. So we'll have the highest percentage of investors in the room and on stage on Thursday. So make sure you don't miss Thursday. I'm also going to share 7 growth strategies we're using right now to grow our business in this market and share exactly what those are to start out the day on Thursday morning. So I hope you do not miss that. We've got many examples of deals closed in this room, all the way from people sourcing $300 million portfolios of assets, or meeting one investor and getting a $30 million check, or going from 30 million to 150 million AUM. But we also have people that raise checks at 25, 50K, 100K. We also have families that are worth 100 million, or like one I'm thinking of for the Northeast, worth $800 million. And they've tested out people at $100,000 and then came back for a more serious 7-figure check. So sometimes it takes that follow-up and patience to get big things done. We've covered most of this already, so I'm not going to read off this whole slide, but don't assume someone is not also an investor just because they're an entrepreneur. Most ultra-wealthy built up a platform or a business or many businesses, right? Add value first, be kind and polite, but also concise. Give investors some breathing room. There's obviously 10 people trying to talk to them after they come off stage. Be relatively concise and shake their hand and make eye contact and then follow up, and you've already heard from them on stage, et cetera. People appreciate that. If you reach out to someone over email or through the Wova app, which hopefully you have downloaded by now because you can track the agenda and who's speaking, and you ask somebody to meet, for sure include your one-liner on your business. Many times investors say, I get a message asking me to meet, but I really don't know who the person is or why they want to meet. And so the more specific, obviously, the better hit rate you will get. Top 4 mistakes are to have a mindset of like, I run a fund, so I'm looking for LP investors, and that's the only way I can work with people. A lot of entrepreneurs are joint venture minded or creative minded. They might want to structure deals as debt. They might want to fund your whole deal if you structure it the way that they're open to. So just keep that in mind. You just will make less progress if you say the only way you can work with me is do this one thing at this one minimum through this one structure. Then it's going to narrow the pool of people you can work with in the room, and it's going to narrow down your results. The other thing to look out for is who has done something exponential on stage and how you can emulate that and copy that and learn from that. That could be the huge takeaway from being here. And pay attention to how people are structuring deals. So what I find is the first decade I spent running this investor club, I didn't focus too much on how you structure a deal. But you can take an average deal and make it amazing if you can structure it however you want. And you can take an amazing deal and make it horrendous for the other person if it's structured in the wrong way, right? In 20 different ways. And you learn that the hard way over time. So the earlier you can go down that rabbit hole, the better. We're really looking to make our investor club a perpetual learning machine for you. That's why I come to every single event. I've never missed one of our own events in 17 years because I learn every time I come. I script every single discussion panel question. that is planned on stage. Sometimes moderators will just ask ones their natural follow-ups, of course, or ask their own questions a bit. But I'm still curious and learning, and I want you to feel like each event is fresh and helpful to learn new strategic things and collect, as Charles Munger says, 100 different mental models you can stack on top of each other. Because if you win by 0.1%, you might get the full allocation while someone else gets no investment, or you might get half of the allocation, and that family office might allocate the other half to one other person. So you don't have to win by a mile. It could just be by 1%. So to get and maximize your ROI out of being here, pay attention to deal structures, strategies, how to convey a very concise, high conviction message, build relationships and trust, have an open mind about JV, co-GP, ways of working with people. Know that a lot of investors are kind of hidden as entrepreneurs and don't have like a family office name tag. Some do, of course, but a lot of them don't. And I think you'll really enjoy yourself here at the event. First timers sometimes don't remember to use Whova to network with people and see the agenda. First timers oftentimes spend too much time networking out there, not listening in the room. So please keep those things in mind, and I hope you really have a fun next 3 days and really enjoy getting to know our community, whether it's your first time or 10th or 20th time being here. So appreciate your attention. We're going to have Charlie come up now, who's the MC for today, and he's going to introduce our next standalone speaker. Is going to come up in just a minute, and then we're going to jump into a couple of fireside chats. So.